Connecticut comes into the game with a record of 9-11. They are 4-7 in the Big East. Pitt on a roll, winning 4 in a row, 14-7 overall. They are 5-5 in the Big East. And a most important Big East Conference game in terms of the standings, positioning for the Big East tournament, which begins March 6th at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Coaches, Roy Chipman of the Pitt Panthers in his 5th year at Pittsburgh, and Dom Perno for Connecticut. Now let's go to public address announcer Clayton Hartman for tonight's starting lineups.
Starting at guard, 6'1" junior from New Haven, Connecticut, number 10, Earl Kelly. At guard, 6'2" freshman from Washington, D.C., number 3, Terry Coffey. At center, 6'7" junior from Baltimore, Maryland, number 34, Tim Coles. At forward, 6'7" senior from Daytona Beach, Florida, number 4, Ray Broxton. At forward, 6'5" senior from Stamford, Connecticut, number 21, Alvin Frederick. The Huskies are coached by Dom Perno. And now for the University of Pittsburgh. Starting at guard, 6-foot sophomore from Buffalo, New York, number 14, Curtis Aiken. At guard, 6'6" freshman from Detroit, Michigan, number 33, Demetrius Gore. At center, 6'9" junior from Ypsilanti, Michigan, number 54, Keith Armstrong. At forward, 6'10" freshman from Bridgeport, Connecticut, number 32, Charles Smith. At forward, 6'7" senior from Louisville, Kentucky, number 41, Chip Watkins. The Panthers are coached by Roy Chipman.
All right, set to go for tonight's Big East Conference game. We'll be back with the opening tip-off in just a moment.
It's time to cheer, Connecticut.
And Harry Stout. Those are the 3 Big East officials for tonight's game. Ron, you talked about the shifting defense, and especially the wing defense. And I guess the key guys for Pitt, certainly Chip Watkins in the defense. How about for Connecticut?
Well, I think you've got Skinner Frederick, and you'll see Ray Broxton on the wings with Timmy Coles in the middle. We'll see some very big wings for both teams. Charlie Smith, and as you mentioned, Chipper Watkins anchoring the 1-3-1 for Pitt. So let's see who can set the tempo defensively.
Wings and wing spans, plenty of those. Pitt with the opening tap, looking inside for Armstrong. Misses the shot. Coles fights, and Armstrong gets the tip. Some of the custodians at Big East gyms are going to demand extra pay at basketball events.
That's right. Everyone has their different traditions. At the Carrier Dome in Syracuse, the fans don't sit down until Syracuse scores their first basket. They like to throw the streamers out here in Pittsburgh.
All right, so Keith Armstrong, who did not play much at all against Seton Hall last Saturday. I think Roy Chipman, as you see him pictured there along with Dom Perno, was most pleased. Granted, they were playing Seton Hall on Saturday, but neither Armstrong nor Charles Smith played at all, in essence, because of foul difficulty, and Pitt still came on to win the game.
Now, that's right. Roy was very happy with his bench play, and really the key man was Curtis Aiken, who came up with 24 points in that game, and he's played very well in the last 2. He had 19 against Providence in the game before that. And interestingly enough, we talk about the 1-3-1. Pitt, after all the streamers are cleared up, will be set up in really a full-court 1-3-1 type of defense, and I'm sure it will then translate into a half-court trapping situation. Then they'll drop all the way back in it. The idea would be to slow Connecticut bringing it down and try to set up the traps wherever they can get it, Stan.
All right, apparently most of the debris is cleared off here, and we're going to play some basketball. Armstrong getting the first 2 for the game. Off the opening tap, getting his own rebound. That's Terry Coffey. Earl Kelly will bring it across. So you see the pressure defense that Pitt is offering. Frederick wants a drive, and a good steal by Chip Watkins. Driving and a foul by Terrence Warren. We talked about Watkins and his defense, and there it is.
That's right, and Chip is playing one of the wings, and that time UConn tried the lob pass across court, and they're going to really need good, crisp bounce passes. They'll have to split the seams of that zone and try to get cross-court passes and good, crisp bounce passes to try to break it. That time the lob pass didn't work, and Chip Watkins took advantage.
Terry Coffey is a freshman, 6'2", out of Washington, D.C. He'll be charged with a turnover. Watkins to the line. He's a very good free throw shooter, 79%. And Pitt ups their lead to 3-0. But remember, in the game in Storrs, Connecticut, of course, that was on UConn's home floor. Pitt was up by 15 in the first half, and the Huskies came back to win by 2. Watkins hits the pair, and it's a 4-0 lead. Batted in the air. Frederick comes down, and all alone is Coles. He'll drive and jam. That time, Charles Smith stayed away from him. Coles with the bucket as they beat the pressure, although not as smoothly as Don Perno would like.
That's right. That was really a break for UConn that time. Skinner Frederick did a great job athletically to come down with that ball. And Curtis Aiken, who was the back man for Pitt, gambled up, and UConn was able to take advantage with the stuff by Timmy Coles.
Gore with the leaner. He's got it. Demetrius Gore, the freshman from Detroit, averaging a little over 9 a game, and it's a 6-2 Pitt lead. And Kelly really drew Gore into that foul. That's pretty smart basketball.
Now, that's the experience and poise that Earl Kelly has on the basketball court. He really just positioned himself so that Demetrius Gore couldn't do anything but foul him on the play. So that's just a good heads-up play by Earl Kelly. You can see it. Just puts himself right there, and Demetrius said, hey, get out of my way on that play. That's just a good heads-up play by Earl.
Kelly penetrating, getting over to Broxton, who takes a rare outside shot. The rebound on the run is by Gore. Aiken has it stolen away. Good defense coming back. Like a back check in hockey. Here's Kelly, averaging nearly 17 a game, 5 assists, and he travels. I've often wondered, Earl Kelly, of course, is a scoring player. How much does it take away from him, Ron, to have to play make as well?
Well, I think he's incorporated both facets into his game this year. He shot the ball over 50%. He's got a very good shot selection, although times when Terrence Warren comes into the game, he'll look for his shot even more.
Gore misses, but Armstrong rebound. He misses out of bounds to Pitt. The similarities we talked about at the top of the broadcast about the two teams have never been more further evidenced by Kelly and Aiken. Both are scoring guards being forced to play the point.
That's right. They're asked to really run the team as well as look to score, and both players have been doing just that, and that's a lot to ask of a guard.
Watkins has the foul line jumper and hits it as he leans over Coffey. So Chip Watkins has 4 points, and Pitt is up to a 6-point lead at 8-2. Good pass inside, the layup by Coles, but the foul is going to go on Chip Watkins. He'll go to the line for 2.
Yeah, that's the best that UConn has handled the 1-3-1. A couple of good bounce passes, and then Terry Coffey found the opening. And again, these kind of openings develop, and you can see Curtis Aiken inside, the back man on the 1-3-1. That's the exposure. He's quick getting to the corners to the jump shooter, but Timmy Coles took advantage that time inside with his size advantage.
Coles, a 75% free throw shooter. Got the first. Interesting, we ought to watch how both teams play their 1-3-1 because Pitt does use Aiken, the smallest man on the floor, on the baseline.
That's right. He's very quick, and he can get out to the corners to jump shooters. But again, that time he got hurt inside by the bigger player.
Frederick had the rebound taken away by Aiken. As Coles splits the pair, it's 8-3. 2.5 minutes gone in the game.
UConn is actually set now in a 1-2-2 collapse zone, and they want to force Pitt in the early going to shoot from the outside.
Coffey knocks it out of bounds. Pitt will retain possession. Pitt is not an exceptionally good shooting team at only 46%. Connecticut, on the other hand, as a group, 49.5%. So that's why UConn wants to shoot from outside.
The other thing this allows UConn to do is get very good inside rebounding position. And they've been out-rebounding their opponents this year, and they do it by getting that good position inside.
There's a steal by Kelly. It's a 1-on-3, but Kelly will drive it all the way. Misses, but a tip. It'll go to Coffey, I believe, who will get credit for the basket. I think it may have gone to Coles. We'll get clarification on who got the basket. It was Tim Coles who got the tip off the miss by Kelly. Aiken up top. Gore's got the baseline jumper. It counts. We've got a foul inside. Keith Armstrong was pushing off. The basket will count. Chip Watkins will get the foul, and that'll be his second on the push-off, but the basket will count.
That was good offensive board work by Pitt that time. Demetrius Gore got the good bounce and canned it. Chipper Watkins was pushing off, though, with some very aggressive follow-up work on the boards inside.
10-5. Pitt with the lead, 16 and a half to play, first half. Kelly. Rebound by Watkins. Now, both these teams have out-rebounded their opponents. Matter of fact, Connecticut, a rather small team, has out-rebounded their opponents in 17 of their 20 games, and they're going to get Keith Armstrong for a foul on the rebound. So far, Pitt has certainly dominated on the boards.
Now, that's right. Pitt has a bigger team with Charlie Smith and Keith Armstrong. Timmy Coles at 6'7" is UConn's big man, so that's why UConn is packing the zone, and they'll try to get good position inside. The first outing this year, Pitt was very tough off the boards in the early going until Charlie Smith picked up his third foul. Only then did UConn really take advantage.
14 fouls on Pitt. Only one on the Huskies. Kelly has taken 2 shots, missed them both inside to Coles. Fall away. Nope. And a foul again on the rebound. It's going to go against Alvin Frederick, who is pushing off underneath. So very aggressive play inside thus far. 15:52 to play in the first half. The Pitt Panthers out to an early lead. They lead Connecticut 10-5. We'll be back in just a moment. We want to remind you that the broadcast cablecast rights to this game are granted by the Big East Conference to TCS Productions with exclusive production contract with TCS Productions. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without prior written consent is prohibited. The announcers on this telecast have been hired and paid for by TCS Productions in consultation with the Big East Conference. In case you are keeping score at home, give the tip-in bucket to Coffee. We were right the first time. Take one away from Coles. Always follow your first instincts, Ron. Aiken looking to drive inside, off the glass, in and out. Smith the rebound. No, Armstrong the tip, whistle and a foul. The foul inside is going to go against the Huskies.
Well, UConn just has to do a better job to keep Pitt off the boards. You just saw an interesting graphic giving Pitt an 8-2 rebound advantage so far in the early going of this game, and UConn just can't allow to give them that second and third effort off the offensive boards.
The foul on Coles, that is the third team foul on Connecticut. Pitt has committed 5. Interesting matchup. Look at inside. Coles and Charles Smith. Watkins scores again. Chip Watkins, who is averaging just 6.4 a game, has 6. And Pitt's biggest lead of the game, 7 at 12-5. Kelly with a pull-up. He's 0 for 3 from the field, and Smith knocks it out of bounds. Obviously, if Pitt's going to pack in that tight run, Kelly's got to hit the outside jumper.
Now, that time, Earl Kelly found the opening between Gore and Watkins, pulled up for a good shot, and eventually he'll make that shot drop.
Coffee, no good, and Smith the rebound. The Pitt increases rebounding edge. Gore gets the opening. Oh, what a great athletic move by Demetrius Gore.
Well, we talked about the defense dictating the tempo early, and right now, Pitt's 1-3-1 is really bothering Connecticut, and that time, it set up a good offensive move off the bounce pass by Aiken, and Gore just did the rest.
Frederick will take it the distance. Can't get the roll. Frederick the rebound. He missed the layup. A tip by Frederick, no. Coffee comes out of there with it. And a foul is going to be called on Curtis Aiken, slapping 15 foul against Pitt. Terrence Warren will come into the game, replacing Harry Coffey. That time, a little bit more activity for UConn on the offensive board.
Well, it was good action. Skinner Frederick was really keeping the ball alive. Look for Earl Kelly to get a little bit more offensive-minded right now with Terrence Warren in the game. Earl will move a little bit more to the number 2 guard spot as they run their offense, and he'll probably think more about his shot.
Warren is a freshman, 6'5", from Irvington, New Jersey. Ball tipped out of bounds by Pitt, so UConn will hang on. The Huskies down by 9, 14-5, 13:48 to play in the first half.
UConn just has to zip that ball, use what they call a diagonal pass or skip a pass from the corner to the other side of the court, or just pull up like that and make the jump shot to get that zone off them a little bit.
Ray Broxton hitting his first 2. Broxton, 13.6 points per game, second leading scorer behind Kelly. Smith traveled. I think he kind of tripped over someone's foot. That kind of knocked him off balance and out of whack, and thus the travel.
Now, he got the ball out that time a little bit further from the basket than probably Roy Chipman would like to see him get it, although I think Roy agrees with you. I think he thinks he was tripped a little bit on that play as well.
Well, you saw some of the athletic ability of Charles Smith, even at his size, 6'10". He can take the ball to the hole. Inside Warren, great pass. Broxton misses, gets his own rebound and scores. So Connecticut beginning to attack inside.
And UConn's answering defensively with a 1-2-2 3/4 court press, which they've used the last couple of times down court to try to slow this Pitt team down a little bit.
Last 2 Connecticut baskets were scored off their offense, where their first 2 were scored off the fast break. Aiken with a penetration. Armstrong, whistle, no. But he was fouled in the act of shooting. It would have been a 3-point opportunity had it gone.
Pitt has been successful in the early going, hitting the offensive board, and that time working it inside, despite the fact that UConn is really packing their 1-2-2 zone. That ball wouldn't drop for Keith Armstrong. I'd look for Curtis Aiken to start taking a couple of jump shots from Pitt from the outside to try to loosen that zone up a bit, although that time they were successful working it inside.
Well, speaking of jump shots, there's Darryl Shepard, and that's what he's coming for. Jerry Besseling, the 6th man off the UConn bench in the game for the Huskies, as Keith Armstrong gets his 3rd point. 58% free throw shooter. 8.4 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game. One of the interesting stats that Ron has come up with is the fact that Pitt, in their 21 games, has attempted some 160 more free throws than Connecticut has in Connecticut's 20 games.
That's right, because they work the ball inside a bit more, and that time, as you see Ray Broxton canning the outside jump shot, UConn will rely more on the 12 to 15-foot jumper.
Broxton now has 6. Still a 5-point ball game at 16-11. Pitt by 5. Shepard, he scores and no foul. Don Perno wanted an offensive foul, but Shepard, that's his shot. He drives the lane and just leans into the defender and scores.
He has great vertical leaping ability, and at times it seems like he really gets up there. I guess he jumps over 40 inches on the vertical leap, and he got great extension that time.
Warren is blocked out of the air by Smith. Ahead is Goran. Kelly steals, but knocks it out of bounds. Good hustle by Earl Kelly. He knocked the ball out of bounds and knocked one of our monitors off the air. So a 2-for-1 deal by Earl Kelly. 11:47 to play in the first half. The score, Pitt 18, Connecticut 11. We'll be back right after this. Pitt was a 7-point favorite coming into this game. They lead by exactly that margin, 18-11, with 11:40 to play in the game. Now Besseling, number 33, you see him leaning on Charles Smith. He is going to provide plenty of muscle. Armstrong up as it's slapped away, and Kelly wants to run, even though it's now a 2-on-2.
That's really the experience of Earl Kelly right there. There wasn't a good advantage that time for UConn on the break, so he has enough poise to back the ball out and let UConn set up their offense and get the high percentage shot.
Kelly's got the shot, and for him that is high percentage. Earl Kelly hits the bucket, his first 2 of the game. Aiken goes all the way. Let's see if they call him on a charge or a block. No, it's going to be a block.
Good call that time. Ray Broxton was really unable to plant himself in established position defensively against Curtis Aiken because Curtis was flying down court so quickly. The one thing, though, is Curtis will have to earn these points from the free throw line.
Aiken, good free throw shooter, 70%. He's averaging 11.4 points per game, and he's lifted that up a great deal since the middle of the season. Two-shot foul. Got the first one. One of the problems that Aiken has had this year, Ron, is that when he plays against a point guard who's got a lot of talent, he sometimes gets into a one-on-one battle. It happened to him when he played Pearl Washington of Syracuse, and you begin to wonder, that time, Kelly hits the long jumper, and Aiken decides, I'm taking it all the way.
Well, subconsciously, that could happen, although that's his first point of the game. And surprisingly enough, to me anyways, he hasn't looked to take his outside jumper against a very tight UConn zone that's been packed in the 3-second lane. So we'll look for Kelly and Aiken to erupt, I think, as this game goes along.
All right, Demetrius Gore will sit down, and Joey David, number 30. He's a junior from Pittsburgh in the game. He, more than anyone on the team, personifies the defensive guard. He's a good outside shooter, but he's in there for his defense primarily. Kelly almost loses. They have Broxton on the baseline. They can get it to him. Kelly. And Kelly, 1 out of 5 from the floor. Rebound coming down to the Panthers. He tried up their lead to 9. That would equal their biggest lead of the game. They lead it now by 7. Armstrong in traffic. They're going to get Jerry Besselink on the foul. It'll be a 2-shot foul, and it will send Armstrong to the line for a pair.
You can see that UConn is packing that zone, but Pitt has been patient in their half-court offense, and this time they're able to work it inside to Keith Armstrong, who gets hit from behind by Jerry Besselink on the play. Again, credit Pitt for their patience and their ability to work it inside. I think Joey David, though, in Curtis Aiken, along with Darryl Shepard, will start to look for that outside pop.
Armstrong with 3 points. He'll be at the line for 2. Got the first. This being National Letter of Intent Day for college football, next time down the floor, get a load of Besselink and Charles Smith. Man, they are going hammer and tong in there. Keith Armstrong hits the pair. Pitt's lead is 9 at 22-13. Just over 10 minutes to play in the first half. Broxton. Ray Broxton hits again. He has 8. So he has done the bulk of the scoring. Ray, the senior from Daytona Beach, averaging 13.5 per game. And it's off the hands of Joey David, the turnover, and it'll go to Terrence Warren and Connecticut. That is Besselink on a high post, looking again for Broxton.
We talked about the teams mixing up their defenses, and now Pitt goes back to a 2-3 zone, and they again have a pretty big lineup in there with Armstrong and Smith. Anytime you have those two guys in, pretty big inside.
Warren top of the key. He hits the outside jumper, and are we going to get a block? Offensive foul on Curtis Aiken, and Aiken is shaken up. Terrence Warren positioned himself knowing that Aiken would be getting the ball and not looking up court.
That was quite a collision. You'll see it here as Curtis Aiken gets the ball and bang. Sometimes the player gets called. He actually walked just before the collision because he caught it and noticed him. The defensive player has to allow a step for that person catching the ball, which Aiken really did get, and I think he actually slightly walked before the collision, and oftentimes that's the call. But it was quite a bang that he took on the play.
And of course, had that been the call, the foul would have been negated since the travel would have preceded the offensive foul. Aiken shaken up, obviously, taken out of the game. Demetrius Gore comes in his place. So on offense, I would imagine Joey David will run the point. Kelly got it. Kelly has 4. And the Huskies back to within 3 at 22-19. They have scored 6 unanswered points.
UConn has done that all season long in games where they have fallen behind early. They've been able to hang in there and just fight their way back, and they're right back in this ball game again.
David does run the point. Darryl Shepard with him. And this time they shift Charles Smith to the other side. Shepard driving in. Say, he is so graceful, such a great athlete, hitting that shot in the lane. He does that continuously. Now Warren is called for the travel. Dom Perno thinks that the Pitt defense abetted Mr. Warren in this travel just a bit, but the turnover will be called against Connecticut. Pitt will get it back as Chip Watkins reports back in the game for Pitt.
Well, let's see if UConn increases their defensive pressure with Curtis Aiken out of the ball game and Joey David more used to playing that off-guard spot, playing the point right now. Let's see if UConn ups that defensive intensity.
Well, they went back to a 1-3-1. Watkins scores, and it's good. And he'll go to the line for the three-point opportunity. Chip Watkins having a big game. That's his 8th point.
Well, again, good ball movement by Pittsburgh, again created by Demetrius Gore, and Chip Watkins does the rest inside. Looks like he did push off a little bit with his right arm to ward off Ray Broxton. Ray wanted that call. That's not the way the officials saw it, though, as Chip will go to the line for a three-point effort. In the NBA, undoubtedly, they would have called that a push-off on the offensive player.
Well, Dom Perno is sitting right to our right here as Watkins misses the free throw. Was up off the bench, didn't contest the goal, but the first words out of his mouth were offensive foul. Didn't get the call. Ball almost stolen away. And we have a foul on the scramble.
Timmy
Loose
Coles.
ball, and it's going to go against Connecticut, and that'll be a one-on-one.
Timmy Coles went for that ball and pushed off in the process and picked up the foul. That time was one of the few times that UConn has used that cross-court pass, which Ray Broxton used, getting it back to Terrence Warren, skipping it across the court, and that's the kind of pass you need against the 1-3-1.
And Coles in immediate foul trouble. That is his 3rd personal. Coles is the leading rebounder for the Husky, averaging nearly 8 rebounds per game, so he's going to have to sit out most likely the rest of the first half. Freshman Jeff King from Lansing, Michigan, 6'10", he'll come in the game, replacing Coles. Smith at the line for the 1-and-1. Smith, a good free throw shooter, 78% averaging 14 points per game, has his first point of the night.
Now, Pitt has been getting answers from people other than Charlie Smith and Curtis Aiken so far, and Demetrius Gore, Keith Armstrong, and really the big surprise has been Chipper Watkins with 8 points.
7:53 to play in the first half. Pitt by 9, 28-19. Hitting 93%, overall 86. He misses that one. Teams have traded spurts. Connecticut scored 6 unanswered. Pitt has come back with 6 unanswered. And it's broken there by Kelly with the free throw. Earl now has 5. Aiken back in the game for Pitt after being shaken up in a collision with Warren.
Now, UConn's gone man-to-man now to try to pick up their aggressiveness and intensity defensively.
No call as Aiken drove into Kelly. The block by Besselink. Watkins scores inside, and Chip Watkins has 10.
Now, he's been the surprise man for Pitt, a pleasant one for Roy Chipman in the first half, but he's found the openings and displayed a very good shooting touch. That time it was a pretty short-range one.
Charles Smith will report back in at the next buzzer. King with the lob pass. You talked about that, Ron. You said that the lob pass is no good against this defense.
Not to the person next to you, but that one's okay when it's the diagonal pass where you skip the person next to you and throw it across court to the opening against that zone.
The foul is on Keith Armstrong. It'll be a 1-and-1 situation. Armstrong hit with his 2nd personal foul.
The pass you just can't afford against the 1-3-1 is if 2 people are right next to each other and you just throw up a lazy lob pass to the next person. These Pitt defenders just have too much height and too much arm span to throw that kind of pass. That last one was okay, though.
Kelly with a 1-and-1. He'll get the bonus. Ron, do coaches teach a progression in passing against the zone? I mean, is there a geometric progression you're supposed to follow?
Well, I think it almost becomes an instinctive thing, but against a 1-3-1, you really need to crisply throw it. You have an opening in the corner, and once the ball goes there and they trap, then you can try to whip it right across the court for the opening against the zone. So I think it's dictated by the zone you're playing against, Stan.
All right, Matt Miklasevich, Jr. from outside of Pittsburgh in the game. I'll tell you, if Miklasevich matches up against Besselink, you better call the Red Cross because someone's going down. Zone pressure by Connecticut. They've scored the last 3 points, and they are within 8 at 30-22. 6:20 to play in the first half.
That pressure is designed more to just make Pitt work to bring the ball up court. If they steal the ball, fine, but then UConn has to do the job boxing out defensively.
Gore forces, and King goes to the rebound. He is fouled by Chip Watkins. No, they're going to give it to Charles Smith. I thought they had Watkins on the foul. In any event, King will go to the line for a 1-and-1. He is not a good free throw shooter. Just 20% this year, but he's only been at the line 10 times. He's 2 out of 10.
Certainly not the percentage that Jeff King is looking for, but having gone to the line that few times, he's probably only had a couple here and there. And you can see him doing a nice job weak side rebounding that time. And Charlie Smith, who didn't have position, picked up the foul on the play. Jeff King, I think, just needs more opportunities to shoot the ball. He actually displays a pretty good touch from the perimeter.
Back rim and ripped down by Watkins. So Connecticut blew an opportunity to get back within 6. Now Pitt can extend their lead to 10, which would be their biggest lead of the game. Big trip down the floor for the Panthers. They can get that lead to double figures.
UConn has done a nice job really finding Charles Smith inside and not allowing him to get the ball. They fronted him. They haven't let him get it. He's got it here, but they've done a pretty good job, and on that time, he beats it himself.
Smith with his first basket of the evening. He's got 4 points. You're just not going to stop that. No
You must
way.
have heard me talking.
He's got 4. 10-point lead. Broxton outside. And Smith rips the rebound. Aiken's got the open jumper, but passes it up. Gore won't pass it up, given an opportunity.
Now that time he shows me a little bit more patience right now than he did earlier in the season, where he might have really gone after that shot. At least that time he didn't see it, and Demetrius Gore backed it out. I think that's why his shooting the last 4 or 5 games has been so much better.
Shot clock under 20. Pitt showing very good patience on offense at this point. And they reverse to Smith's side. Aiken drives by Kelly and pulls up. A rebound to King. And we got Miklasevich on a foul. Miklasevich does not believe that he hit Jeff King. I tend to agree with him. I don't think he did either. But in any event, King will go to the line for another 1-on-1 opportunity.
I think the one thing that you look for as a fan or as a player or as a coach when you're at a ball game is for some consistency on the part of the officials. And there's been quite a bit of banging in this first half. And that time, there may have been some contact on the wrist, but that play certainly wasn't as physical as some I've seen where bodies have gone down in this first half.
Well, King will be at the line. He's now 2 for 11 on the year. I'll let you figure out the exact percentage. We know it's below 20. He's got that one.
He's actually got pretty good form, though, the big lefty, and got good rotation on the ball. And I think the more that he does take, 12 certainly doesn't, indicate someone's shooting percentage, I don't think. And he shoots the ball actually with pretty good form.
Got them both. We saw Connecticut, of course, play Georgetown a couple of weeks ago in the Cap Center, and he hit, if I remember correctly, a very nice outside jumper. He does have a good shooting touch.
I actually think his game is more of a, 7 or 8 foot baseline jump shot offensively, although right now he's doing a pretty good job on the boards for UConn.
Pitt breaks the pressure. Smith had the jumper on the baseline. Now he'll take it. Long rebound out to Frederick. Ahead to Kelly. Kelly driving on Smith. It's a block on Charles Smith. Obviously, the Pitt bench wanted an offensive foul. It's a block on Charles Smith. Smith hit with his second personal.
Again, you can see Charlie Smith fighting to get in front of Earl Kelly, but he was still slightly moving in. And take a look at his right knee, just leans in a little bit with it, unable to really plant. It's so difficult to stand there and just plant. And you can see Earl Kelly, he was really enjoying it as he gets another opportunity to go to the line. He's a pretty animated player out there.
Well, that was David knocking over Goliath there. Kelly with the 2. Hits the first. He's got 8 points, and UConn back within 7. So they have been down by as many as 10. They fought back to within 3, back down to 10, now back within 7. Make it 6.
They say Earl Kelly is really playing the best ball of his career for UConn. Over the last 9 or 10 games, he's been averaging about 20 a game and just had great shot selection and leadership on the floor for the Huskies.
Aiken calling for movement as Watkins comes out, take the pass. There's Gore. Almost a steal. by Frederick, but he fouled Curtis Aiken in the process, and that will send Aiken to the line for a 1-and-1. Frederick had the right idea, but just got there a second too late.
Can't teach someone that defensively. There was just a half a step off the pace for Alvin Frederick with good anticipation. That was, again, a skip pass by Demetrius Gore, but that one was a bit too close to the defenders that time.
Aiken at the line for 1-and-1. 2 points. He'll get the bonus. Aiken was having a shooting slump, and before their game with Providence, he got some instruction, and it paid immediate dividends. He had 19 against Providence and 24 against Seton Hall, and most of them outside. So Aiken hits both free throws. We've got 3:59 to go in the first half. Pitt up by 8, 34-26. We'll return in a moment. First half review, Big East countdown. We're going to have a music piece on Dwayne the Pearl Washington, and we'll have the statistics from the first half. Now, Pitt is lining up in a very small lineup. Watkins, the biggest man on the floor, at 6'7" for Pitt, as they're going with a 3-guard offense with Aiken, Joey David, and Darryl Shepard.
About as evenly matched height-wise as we've seen since the beginning of the ball game. Although at the beginning, actually, I stand corrected, Charlie Smith and Keith Armstrong were in there. So right now is about as even height-wise. Let's see if UConn can do some more damage off the offensive board, where they've been particularly limited to really one shot so far tonight.
Coffey looking inside. Good dish off to Kelly. He's got the jumper outside. Kelly hits outside, and the Huskies back within 6. Now, let's think along with Roy Chipman here for a minute, Ron. Why the small lineup?
Well, I think he's got Charlie Smith with some foul trouble, and he wants to see if he can get him some rest before the half ends, and he needs some help from the outside with Joey David and Curtis Aiken, and he wants to see if they can, break that zone up a little with their outside shooting touch.
But keep an eye on Alvin Frederick. He loves to drive if given an opportunity. Frederick. Besselink with the tip, and I think they're going to get Besselink for going over the back. Nope. It's going to go against Ray Broxton.
Well, you can see Alvin Frederick with the penetrating move. He doesn't get it high enough off the backboard to send it home, and Ray Broxton and Jerry Besselink were really both riding Darryl Shepard's back, and Ray Broxton gets called for the offensive rebounding foul.
And that's Broxton's third, so King comes back in. Both Broxton and Coles have 3 personal fouls. And again, being much shorter, Connecticut is going to need those 2 guys if they're going to have an even shot on the boards.
Not only shorter, Stan, but really UConn doesn't have the depth that Pittsburgh has in this ball game. You've got Eddie Williams out with a dislocated wrist injury. They hope to have him back soon. But Don Perno can't afford to have his big people in foul trouble in a game that's very important off the board.
Miss was rebounded. Coffey, running jump. Terry Coffey has got the 2 points, and it's back to a 4-point game. And we got a foul on Besselink, who does not like the call. They better back off just a little bit. Jerry Besselink gets hit with a foul. Again, it'll send Pitt to the line.
See Curtis Aiken with the penetrating move. Let's see if Jerry Besselink establishes position. Had pretty good position that time. He might have, if anything, leaned a little bit as Curtis Aiken penetrated to the basket. Had he really planted and held his feet, he would have had it. It's so difficult to do. He gets it, and he just, I guess if anything, might have leaned a little bit. That was really a very close call that time.
Aiken hits the first. He'll get the second. It was a shooting foul. It's a good thing Don Perno can't lean around and look at our monitor. He might have been even more upset than he was.
That's right. It reminds me of, again, the baseball player, and you check to see if they really did swing on a check swing, and you always see the replay, and it looks like they did, in fact, swing. When you see it live, it doesn't look it, and it's very tough to plant yourself defensively and take a charge.
Yeah, it was a big call by the official because it lengthens Pitt's lead back to 6. Coffey dishes inside to King, who makes a strong move to the basket. Hits the 5-foot jumper. Well, Jeff King has 4 points.
Yeah, Jeff has done a fine job for UConn off the bench in the first half. Not only scoring that time, but he's been active defensively off the boards.
Pitt continues to go with their small lineup, in essence, a three-guard lineup. You know, Ron, watching those slow motion replays on charge calls, we're watching on slow-mo, and it's inconclusive. Not that the referees need excuses, but you can imagine how difficult it really is.
That's a very instinctive call.
Watkins turnaround. Miklasevich fighting Frederick for the rebound, but Alvin Frederick comes down, and Connecticut can close to within 2.
Now, they've done a great job, UConn, hanging in there in this first half. And this is obviously the biggest possession that they've had. They have a chance to really close within a basket. Look for Kelly to take over.
Kelly pulls up. Watkins the rebound. Aiken hounded by Kelly, loses it. Jump ball. And we'll see who gets the alternate possession. And it's going to be the Connecticut Huskies who have the alternate possession since Pitt won the opening tip. 1:10 to play first half. Inside to King, he missed the jam. King would have been better off laying it off the glass, but he missed the slam dunk. And now, Pitt will have to get a shot off. That is the game clock. 10 seconds less than that remain on the shot clock.
Pitt will work the clock down right now. Again, look for Aiken or David from the perimeter to take possibly the jump shot. But again, UConn is guaranteed an opportunity to bring the ball down court themselves. It's a big defensive possession for UConn.
Remember, the shot clock, 10 seconds less than the game clock you are watching. And it's stolen away by Connecticut. Let's see if they want to hold. Now with Earl Kelly. Kelly, left-handed hook.
Oh, what a
He's
shot
got
by
it.
Kelly.
Oh. I must be crazy thinking about last shot. Aiken rushes down the court. And he's tripped on the foul. So with 2 seconds left in the first half, Aiken will go to the line. Kelly will get the foul. Aiken will go to the line for the 1-and-1.
Well, there was still plenty of time left as Kurt Aiken comes down. Really looks like he trips over his own foot on that play. Kelly was close to him and got called for the foul. He had gone by Earl. Looked like he just stumbled over looked like his left foot hitting his right foot and went down.
I thought that Kelly stuck the left foot out.
Again, I saw it quickly there on the replay. It looked like he was actually by him and just had stumbled somehow. And I'm glad I don't have a striped shirt on, Stan.
Aiken, who's 7 for 7 from the free throw line, gets the point. Aiken now with a total in the game of 7 points, and they've all come from the free throw line. 37-34, Pitt by 3. 2 seconds to play in the half. Got them both. Desperation shot by Coffey. Well, he touched the net anyway. Pretty good first half of basketball. We have reached the conclusion of the first 20 minutes of the game. The score, the Pitt Panthers 38, the Connecticut Huskies 34. And This game is being brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers. Reach for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that says Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. And by Piedmont Airlines. Call your travel agent or Piedmont and find out why in over 100 cities they call us the up-and-coming airline. Pitt by 4 at the half, and looking at the statistics, one thing jumps out at you. Neither team's shooting very well from the field, but the free throw. Pitt 16 out of 18, Connecticut 8 out of 11, and the 8 points, the difference in the game, Ron.
That really is the difference in the game. Both teams have played pretty stubborn defense with some pressure and some trapping out of the 1-3-1 zone, but the difference right now is from the free throw line. As you can see, Pitt really was successful in the first half, shooting close to 90% from the line, and the rebounding, which was much to the advantage of Pitt early, was evened up by UConn pretty much by halftime.
Pitt had a big lead in rebounds. Connecticut catching up the scoring. Earl Kelly with 13, Broxton all from the outside with 8, Coffey with 8, and then Coles, King. Frederick did not score. And for the Pitt Panthers, leading scorer in the ballgame, Chip Watkins, already well over his average. Aiken has 8, all from the free throw line. He's been shut out from the field. Armstrong with 8 points. Gore 6. Charles Smith has but 4 points. And, of course, he's averaging 14. Darrell Shepard hit 2 points.
Charlie Smith was quiet in the first half. Really, the big reason was because of UConn's sagging zone. They really tried to find him and did a good job not letting him get the ball, but that'll be tough to do for 40 minutes.
Well, most interesting about Charles Smith, not only his low point total, but he only got 3 shots from the field, and he is expected to obviously get more involved in the offense than that.
That's right. UConn just wasn't letting him get the ball. That was obviously the game plan. UConn has been playing in front of him much the night because when he gets the ball down low, he's very tough to stop.
Connecticut has never led in this game. Pitt jumped out to a 4-0 lead. Foul trouble. Both Broxton and Coles with 3. Aiken drives in. Gore with a pull away. Watkins tipped by Armstrong. Smith comes down with it. Smith layup and score. But Charles Smith now has 5 rebounds in the game. He's got 6 points, and Pitt scores to open the second half. They lead it by 6. All knocked out of bounds. Connecticut will retain possession. Well, Pitt has been sagging on Charles Smith, and that has enabled Chip Watkins to get the 10 points. Warren starting the half for Connecticut. Warren pulls up with a jumper. In and out. Frederick. Back up. It's a good hoop, and the foul is called on the Panthers. Curtis Aiken gets called for the foul, and that, the first team foul, of course, for Pitt in the second half, and it's his 3rd personal. So Alvin Frederick, who had not scored in the first half, although he is averaging 11.6 per game, will go to the line for the 3-point play, a 68% free throw shooter. So Connecticut opens with a bang, and they draw within 3, 40-37.
Well, that'll have to give the UConn offense a lift. Again, Frederick's been averaging about 17 points in the last 6 games for UConn, and he'll erupt after that kind of a offensive move and basket.
So now both Coles and Broxton have 3 personal fouls for Connecticut. Aiken with 3 for Pitt. Smith from the free throw line, in and out, and the rebound is ripped out of there by Tim Coles. Connecticut with a chance to draw within 1, and that would be the closest they have been since the start of the game when they fell behind 2-0.
And again, we see that Earl Kelly became much more offensive-minded when Terrence Warren came in the game, and that may be why Tom Perno is starting Terrence in the second half.
Broxton, the baseline jumper. Great tip by Frederick. Alvin Frederick just crashing the board and getting all 5 Connecticut points here in the second half.
Now, that's right. I knew he was excited when he got that other offensive rebound, and he went to the board with a vengeance that time and somehow got the roll as the ball went in.
Gore goes baseline. Blocked from behind and a whistle after the shot. The foul's going to be called on Alvin Frederick.
I definitely thought Demetrius Gore got hit on that play, and it did seem like a late whistle, though. And And you can see Alvin Frederick on that play before. Watch him come in on the left side of your screen. He's hanging in midair over Keith Armstrong, and somehow with his right hand he was able to tip that ball in.
Well, even with the late whistle, Gore's going to get the 2 free throws.
I thought he got hit on the play. It just seemed like we didn't get a whistle right away. He got clobbered as he went to the baseline to shoot the shot.
Well, the whistle was so late, I thought that he had fouled on the rebound. Gore splits the pair. 2-point lead. Warren to Kelly. There's the diagonal pass. Kelly has it taken away, and Armstrong comes up with it.
Good ball movement by UConn that time as the team's trade turnovers right there. UConn moved it well, but Earl Kelly, somehow the ball slipped out of his hands, and Pitt fails to capitalize on the turnover.
So Connecticut with a chance to tie. Coles, foul line jump. Frederick drives to the hoop with a rebound and scored. Alvin Frederick has scored all 7 Connecticut points here in the second half, and the Huskies have tied the Panthers.
Well, I talked about him erupting after that 3-point play, but I didn't know he'd do it in quite this fashion so quickly.
Watkins up, rebound, foul on the play. Charles Smith, the rebound, put the shot back up, and he'll go to the line for a couple.
Charles Smith really shows experience beyond his freshman status when he hangs in there on a night like this where he's really being played very toughly by UConn. He's been keeping his patience, and he's doing a good job off the boards.
Well, now we see Andre Williams coming into the game for Pitt. He replaces Gore. Broxton comes out of the game, and Besselink back in. Smith at the line has 6. 2-shot shooting foul. Misses the first. Well, Pitt has already missed 2 free throws. So far in the game, they are 17 out of 21. Well, missed them both. Well, Watkins comes out of there with it, taken away by Connecticut, and a whistle and a foul is going to go against Chip Watkins. That'll be his 3rd. 13 foul on Pitt, 3rd on Chip Watkins.
Pittsburgh has a much bigger lineup in the game right now than UConn, with Curtis Aiken really the only smaller guard in the lineup at about 6 foot, and Demetrius Gore is the next smallest guy at 6'6". So let's see what kind of damage they can do off the boards right now with this big lineup in the game.
Williams in the middle instead of Keith Armstrong. Connecticut with a chance to take their first lead of the game. Cross court, batted out of there by Watkins. Watkins very quick and a good defensive play. Baseline Kelly, no. Besselink is going to be called for the foul over the top. Jerry Besselink fouling Charles Smith. Besselink just into the game, picks up his 3rd personal.
Well, you can see the banging on the boards, and Jerry Besselink climbing on Charlie Smith's back, trying frantically to get the Earl Kelly miss that time.
So Connecticut does not take advantage of the opportunity to take their first lead of the game.
UConn's been using that soft 3/4 court pressure, trying to make Pitt work to bring it up court, particularly where they have a pretty quick lineup in the game.
Aiken in and out. Smith with the rebound, but a whistle. And the foul is going to go again on Jerry Besselink. That'll be his 4th. And Jeff King gets off the bench. He'll enter the game for the Huskies. Besselink obviously very aggressive, but also foul prone.
Well, right now with Besselink picking up his 4th, you have Timmy Coles in foul trouble with 3 personals. Alvin Frederick has 3. So right now, UConn's front line has got to play with their feet and not with their hands. Great play inside by Pitt.
Alley-oop to Charles Smith. And Pitt puts on the full court pressure. The Panthers, 2-point lead, 43-41.
That's the kind of play that can get the fans in Fitzgerald Fieldhouse a little bit excited. You can see them clapping now. UConn's been able to keep the fans out for much of the night.
Kelly answers back with a jumper. Kelly has 15, his first 2 of the second half. We're tied again at 43, 15 and a half to play in the game.
And Stan, that's a way to quiet the crowd down when you're on the road, and that's by making a basket.
Gore looking baseline. Smith, fall-away jumper. And I mean fall-away. So Charles Smith, after being held to 4, now has 10.
Well, we said that he'd be a tough man to play for 40 minutes, and he's showing everyone why right now. He's a very persistent player that works hard, and he's showing us that he can move without the ball.
Kelly is fouled on the shot. He'll go to the line for a pair. Kelly fouled on the drive. Will go to the line for 2. Charles Smith gets in with a foul. That is his 3rd. I have to ask you, Ron, how is Smith being able to get open here in the second half, whereas he was not in the first? Is it something that he's doing, something that Pitt is doing offensively, or something that the Huskies are not doing defensively?
Well, my first reaction is to say that maybe UConn isn't bodying up and boxing him out, because Charles Smith has been able to find an opening on a couple of offensive rebounds. But the other side of the coin, to be quite honest about it, is a couple of bounces have finally gone his way. He's worked all night long, and a couple of those offensive boards have finally bounced his way.
Kelly hits the first. He's got 16. Make it 17. And again, we are tied at 45. 15 minutes to play in this game. We are dead even. Gillette, of course, we thank Gillette for their support of college basketball and Big East basketball in particular. 15 minutes to play. Connecticut down by 4th Ave has come back to tie the Panthers at 45-45, but Pitt has not yet given up the lead at any point in this game. Pitt will continue to use Andre Williams in place of Keith Armstrong. If you're wondering, Armstrong is not in foul trouble. He only has 2, whereas Aiken, Charles Smith each have 3.
We'll have to keep an eye on the foul situation as we go along. We know Jerry Besslink is clearly in the most foul trouble for UConn with 4. But we'll have to keep an eye on the front line for UConn. As we've mentioned, Timmy Coles, Alvin Frederick, and Ray Broxton with 3.
Well, as you pointed out, Ron, Pitt certainly has the deeper bench of the 2 and could afford or could survive foul trouble more easily than Connecticut. Off the foot of Andre Williams, and it's a turnover. And again, Connecticut with an opportunity to take their first lead of the game. How important psychologically is it for Connecticut to get the lead for the first time in the game, or for Pitt to give it up? King turnaround. Not the shot Don Perno wanted, certainly, for an opportunity like that.
Well, it's significant, and this is the best rush that UConn's been able to mount, but that's the way Pitt wants to answer, by saying you can get that close, but we're not going to let you get over the hump.
Demetrius Gore hitting the bucket. Gore now has 9. Pitt leads by 2.
Pittsburgh has gone to a man-to-man defense again, probably in an effort to pick up their defensive intensity, and it's always a good idea to go man to get more aggressive. Great move, though. Great
move and shot by Earl Kelly. Kelly now with 19. Remember, he's averaging only 21 a game in his last 9 games. He's got 19 already. We're tied again. Good defense by Coles. He saves it, inbounds to Kelly. Kelly. Ball batted out to Gore. Gore with a 2-on-2. In and out. Watkins has it. Whistle on the rebound. Foul's going to go against the Huskies, and it'll send the ball out of bounds to the Panthers. And Coles gets the foul, and that it is his 4th personal foul. So again, Pitt, by rebounding offensively, not only got to keep possession, but also drew the 4th foul on Tim Cole. Alley-oop. Smith went over the back of Coles, no foul. Both sides wanted a foul, and no call. There's a case where neither coach was happy.
Well, Larry Lembo felt that Charlie Smith was allowed what they call his vertical space as he went up to get the alley-oop pass. And, of course, Roy Chipman and the bench are contending that there was an awful lot of body contact, as you can see right there, as Charlie Smith went up to slam that ball down.
I think if Frederick fouled him on the way up. Kelly with a drive again off the glass. Kelly, he's got 21, and for the first time, Connecticut leads in this game. Kelly with 21. He's got 8 already in the second half. Gore forces. but he's fouled on the force on the way up. Jeff King is going to get hit with the personal foul. That is the 16th foul already on Connecticut. The Panthers have committed just 3. And with the way Pitt shot free throws in the first half, 16 out of 18, that obviously could be a factor.
That's right. Look for Curtis Aiken to become a little bit more aggressive in terms of looking for his own outside shot. He's been giving the team that the last few games.
Gore hits again. Demetrius Gore, the freshman from Detroit, has 11, and again we are tied. Keith Armstrong will report in for Pitt. Frederick almost stolen away. Warren comes up with it, and he evades the trap. Shot clock at 19. Frederick. No, and Gore rips down the rebound. It's a 4-on-2 for Pitt. And a blocking foul called on Kelly. It'll be a shooting foul because that's the 17th foul against Connecticut.
Well, it's a great rebound in here by Demetrius Gore. He shows you that as a big guard, he can come back and rip the rebound down and then handle it. And you can see Earl Kelly step in and pick up the blocking foul on the play, which was called by the referee Larry Limbo, that time up court.
Earl Kelly picking up his second personal, and at the line, Curtis Aiken, who in the first half was 8 for 8 from the free throw line.
Stan, that was another one of those plays where Curtis caught it and looked out the side of his eye and very close to being, again, a travel call before the collision, but Earl Kelly was leaning on the play.
And again, it's a big play because had they called it the other way, not that it should have been, that was the proper call, but you never know, that would have been Aiken's fourth. Aiken has yet to score from the field, but he's 9 for 9 from the free throw line. He's got both, he's got 10, and Pitt has a 2-point lead at 51-49, 12 minutes to play in the game. Now Coffey back in.
Well, there are a lot of young players that are good players in the Big East, and we'll talk about some that are on the floor right now, and there's one of them, Jeff King.
Jeff King not being bashful at all. He has really played an aggressive offensive game. He's got 6 points. We are tied again at 51.
Right, you have King and Coffey, a freshman for UConn, and you've got a very young team with Charlie Smith, Demetrius Gore, freshman for Pitt, along with the sophomore with the ball right now, Curtis Aiken. A lot of good young players in the Big East.
Gore with the running jump shot, and Demetrius Gore begins to take over. He's got 13 points, and again, a 2-point Panther lead.
And Demetrius Gore is taking very good shots in this game, and the results have been very positive for him.
Kelly goes all the way and scores, and he's fouled by Keith Armstrong. 23 points for Earl Kelly. 10 of them already in the second half. He'll go to the line for the 3-point play.
Earl Kelly has a great ability to find the opening and be very shifty on the court. This time he penetrates all the way to the basket with a fine scoop shot, and he gets hit by Keith Armstrong on the play. He's very shifty, and he kind of glides through there and has a great ability to use his body. He's having quite a night.
Armstrong's third personal. Kelly hits his 24th point, and Connecticut has the lead. 11-13 to play in the game. Connecticut by 1 at 54-53.
And this game is really evened up at this point in time.
Gore, offensive foul. Along the baseline, Demetrius Gore is called for the personal. It is his second. 7 minutes, 48 seconds to play in the game. We're at the place we started, even at 59.
He was a 4-time All-Stater from Cromwell, and the crowd at Boston University would find out why. Al the Cat Weston made his starting debut on February 7th, 1973. He responded with 43 points, the majority coming on 20 to 30-foot jumpers. Although the Huskies lost, Coach D. Rowe realized that a star had been born. Al Weston, remembered by many to be one of the finest all-around players in Husky history.
Join us for our next telecast of Big East basketball this Saturday, February the 16th at 12 noon, when the Wildcats of Villanova meet the Eagles of Boston College on the TCS network. Big East basketball. A little bit less than capacity crowd on hand at the Pittsfield House tonight. We are going through a semi-blizzard outside. Started in Pittsburgh early this morning, so I hope your dogs are fed and along the curb, Ron, so you can get back to your home area. That, folks, is a shot chart, and it shows where the shots are being taken from. Game is tied at 59.
Well, right now, Pitt has gone into a box-and-one defense with Joey David playing Earl Kelly man-to-man.
Broxton was alone. He rushed it. Gore with a rebound at Joey David. Of course, Kelly's the guy who's really hurt the Panthers. They went to the box and won, but Kelly found Broxton. He just rushed his shot. Smith got the two. Charles Smith, 14 points, 10 of them in the second half. And the Panthers regain the lead. 7:05 to play.
This is really the best place to have Kelly, is with the ball against the box and one, and he'll try to find the open person if a shot doesn't develop for himself.
With a rebound. No, the basket is waved off. Broxton was driving inside. It's his fourth. But perhaps more importantly, the offensive foul takes away a basket and puts Pitt at the line. Well, that's a fifth personal on Ray Broxton.
That'll be it for Ray. This ball won't drop for Earl Kelly, and Ray Broxton comes over the back of Demetrius Gore, makes a great tip in, but the contact was created before the tip, and he fouls out of the ball game, and that's a very tough loss coming down to the waning moments of this game for UConn. To lose the basket, and I guess he went over Charlie Smith's back. This gives Pittsburgh an opportunity to come back with two of their own and potentially take a 4-point lead, so it's really a 6-point swing. The two that UConn could have gotten and the two that Pitt has an opportunity to pick up.
Smith will get the bonus. Broxton leads the game with 8 points, all of them coming relatively early in the first half and all an outside jumpers. Now Pitt has extended their lead to 3, and you're right, it could have been a tie game. Pitt now with a possibility of a 4-point lead. There it is. Charles Smith having a big, big second half. He's got 16 overall.
This is a good adjustment by Roy Chipman to really try to take Earl Kelly out of the game and force other UConn players to pick up the slack. Look for Skinner Frederick to try to take charge, because Ray Broxton, who's a very good shooter, isn't in the game either. He just fouled out.
Here's Frederick in the lane. Warren blocked out of there by Smith, and David comes down with a loose ball. Now the Panthers with a chance to build that lead to 6. And give credit, as Ron mentioned, to Roy Chipman. The last 3 times down the floor, Connecticut has gone inside all 3 times, and they have yet to score once Pitt went to the box and won.
Watch for UConn after they get back after a score or whatever to really put a lot of pressure on Pitt, too, because the only exposure is Aiken's not in the game to handle the ball.
Gore hits from the baseline.
Oh, he's been great in this second half. He is shooting the ball with all kinds of confidence.
6-point run by the Pitt Panthers. 5:47 to play in the game. Pitt leads it by 6. It's 65-59. We'll return in a moment. .547 to play in the game. Pitt up by 6. And Frederick looking inside. Now Warren finds out, don't shoot on Charles Smith's defensive wing.
No, that's right. Good pass by Frederick, although I think he could have taken the shot himself. Terrence Warren needed to shoot it immediately. He took it right into Smith, and you saw what Smith did sending that shot back. But Demetrius Gore at the other end hits another outside jump shot from the baseline that time, and he has 19 in the game, 13 in the second half, and he has been a key factor, certainly, in Pitt taking the lead. The reason that 6-point run just took place for Pitt, too, I have to believe, has been the adjustment to the box-and-one defense. Look for Don Perno to get the ball into Earl Kelly's hands and still try to set a couple of screens up on either side of the foul line for Earl Kelly, and then look for UConn to probably pressure Pitt more with Curtis Aiken out of the ball game.
Besselink playing with 4 personals. Broxton's already fouled out. And for those of you who wonder what a box and 1 is, 4 defenders. Another block in there by Charles Smith on Coles. And that's going to be goaltending on Keith Armstrong. Give Coles the basket.
Now you got 4 players really in a box or a 2-2 zone, and 1 player chasing Earl Kelly all over the court. Great effort by Coles here to follow his own shot after a great block. And Keith Armstrong just sends that ball out of there, and it was clearly on its downward flight, but I think he was making a statement with that block, trying to intimidate Timmy Coles to go up with another shot.
Coles now with 7 points. Inside, Armstrong with a turnaround and a good feed by Joey David. So David has had an impact here while Curtis Aiken is sitting down with 4 personal fouls.
You can see the screens being set for Earl Kelly around the perimeter. Oh, dangerous pass. Skinner Frederick is really the other offensive threat, and Besselink and Coles will hit the boards, but they don't want to take Kelly out of the game. They'll still try to run him off of screens, but Joey David's doing a good job denying the ball to him.
Frederick pulls up with a jumper. Oh, a big collision inside. A number of players hit the floor. And the ball will belong to Pitt.
Dan, that's 3 or 4 times in a row that UConn has taken the shot, and it's been either deflected or outright blocked. So this defense is really unsettling UConn right now.
Unquestionably, Kelly has only gotten off 1 shot since they went to the box and 1, and that wasn't a very good one. Kind of a leaner. That was the one on which Broxton fouled out when he got the tip.
I think what UConn will have to hope for right now is a break opportunity. But right now, Pitt is controlling things. They have set the tempo right now. They're working their offense. Demetrius Gore has been very hot, and Charlie Smith is always someone that UConn has to keep an eye on.
Pitt leads it by 6, 4:05 to play in the game. Watkins inside. Oh, the tip by Armstrong just rolled off the back flange, and a foul on Keith Armstrong. That'll send the Huskies to the line for a 1-and-1, and they'll find that much easier than the defense they've been facing.
A lot of players have been contributing for Pitt tonight, but Keith Armstrong has become very active here in the second half. Been a consistent man off the boards for Pitt all season long, and that ball just wouldn't drop for him.
Tim Coles will go to the line. He'll be shooting 1-and-1. He's a 75% free throw shooter on the season. On the night, 7 points. He's averaging a bit better than 9.
If Tim Coles can make these free throws, watch for UConn to set up some kind of a full court press.
Coles gets the bonus. Key free throw. 3:59 to play. Pitt leads it by 5. And again, since Pitt went to the box and 1, Connecticut has not scored a field goal. Coles hits both. And there's the full court pressure. And Watkins, senior co-captain, not being able to get the ball inbounds, calls for the timeout. 3:59 to play in the game. Pitt by 4 at 67-63.
Moving it around out of a 4 corners offense. Tom Perno's talking about aggressive pressing defense, try for the steal, and then I think he should be stressing to the team, if you reach in on anyone, don't reach in on Demetrius Gore. He has been just a terrific player tonight for Pitt.
And as you might guess, he is indeed our player of the game. He now, with the 2 free throws, has 23 points, 5 rebounds, been a good free throw shooter tonight, made a key defensive play in the run where Pitt ran up to a 6-point lead. And the freshman from Detroit is the Gillette player of the game.
And well-deserved. He's just played a great floor game tonight for Pitt. He's been coming on of late. They've talked about his improved shot selection. He certainly showed us that tonight. I mentioned early in the game when he had a shot opportunity that I think early in the season he would have tried to razzle-dazzle something up there, but he backed it out, showed some poise, and he's just played a very good floor game tonight.
You know, what's interesting to me, Ron, is that in this game, strangely enough, there have been 3-minute segments where one player has taken control. We've got a foul. Joey David is fouled by Earl Kelly on the inbounds pass. But early in the game was Chip Watkins for Pitt. Then Broxton hit 3 outside shots. Then towards the end, it was Kelly.
Yeah, Skinner Frederick had a spell where he...
Early in the second half, it was Frederick. Then it was Charles Smith. then Demetrius Gore, then Kelly again. In 2 3-minute spurts, they have taken just control of the game. One player. David in and out. And we got a foul on Jeff King. King fouled on the rebound, and whatever chance Connecticut may have been killed there, because Connecticut, on the miss, had come down with a rebound and a chance to cut to 4, but it sends Pitt right back to the line, and Andre Williams, a very good free throw shooter, over 70%. Critical mistake by Jeff King.
Well, it was. I think he wrapped his arm around Joey. I guess it was around Andre on the play, and didn't allow Andre to go to the boards instead of just boxing him out.
Miss that one, and Frederick pulls down the rebound. Connecticut down by 7, 33 seconds to play. Whistle. And again, Roy Chipman is going to need a roll later, 10 or 12 of them, because they are stopping the clock. And that's the last thing in the world that Pitt wants to do. Chip Watkins comes out of the game, played a very strong game tonight. Matt Miklasevich will come in. Terrence Warren will be at the free throw line for a 1-and-1. Watkins getting hit with a foul. Getting a bear hug over there from someone.
He had 10 early points tonight and was clearly an offensive factor early in the game when UConn really bottled up Charlie Smith inside.
Warren misses. Williams the rebound. He'll go back to the line as Earl Kelly fouls him. So it's just a matter of the final score now. 30 seconds remain in the game. Pitt up by 7.
Well, crazier things have happened, and I've kind of learned with this Big East action to wait till that buzzer goes off. But right now, Pitt has certainly enjoyed an advantage from the free throw line tonight, and I guess one of the stories after the game has ended will certainly be, you know, the free throw story, which was a story up in Connecticut before, when Connecticut enjoyed a free throw advantage over Pittsburgh in a win earlier in the season for UConn. But Pitt has been definitely in control from the line tonight.
Well, as you pointed out, Ron, Pitt on the season, coming in it tonight, had shot 160 more free throws this year than had Connecticut, which would indicate more movement, more of an inside game. Andre Williams, the senior from Brooklyn, has 6 points, and all of them key. Frederick gets the roll, and Connecticut again will call timeout. And now we're down to 23 seconds. Still a 7-point lead for Pitt. Well, at least this will clear out the traffic somewhat.
Now, there's no quit in either of these teams, and UConn is using the strategy of making the basket, calling the quick timeout so that they can regroup, try to set up their press and make a steal. And again, it hasn't been too successful fouling any of the Pitt players because they've been shooting the free throws so well. But I could now scratch Andre Williams and Demetrius Gore off the list. Matt Miklasevich has been put in the lineup. He might be a logical candidate if he gets the ball to foul him, but there's not enough time to fool around with right now. I'm sure the first person who gets it will see a reach in.
And ironically, Miklasevich is the second best free throw shooter on the floor for Pitt. He's an 81% free throw shooter next to Joey David, who goes about 85% from the free throw line.
The only reason to foul a player like Matt Miklasevich from the perspective of a coach,
kind of cold coming in off the bench.
Kind of cold coming in off the bench, and he might be logical, although Roy Chipman has already thought of that and hasn't sent him back out on the floor, and he's got really some of his finest shooters back in the game with Joey David back in there, and Charles Thompson, a good shooter, although he's been on the bench, so he might be a candidate to reach in on.
But he is a point guard, and he can handle the ball. One timeout for Connecticut. The pass head, and wide open is Thompson. He'll come back out of there with it. Good, smart play. He's fouled anyway. Kelly got him. 15 seconds to play in the game. Earl Kelly gets hit with the personal.
Well, Earl Kelly has played another great ball game as he picks up his 4th personal foul, but a critical time in this game with about 5 to go. Actually, that's it for Earl, his 5th personal stand. A critical time in this game with around 6 or 7 to go when Roy Chipman went to that box-and-one defense. It really seemed to confuse UConn and forced, actually, the Huskies to go to someone other than Earl Kelly. Ray Broxton fouled out shortly thereafter, and it just proved to be a very good defensive strategy and one that helped them to get the cushion that they needed to win this ball game.
Charles Thompson, the senior from Phoenixville, PA, misses. Loose on the floor, out of bounds. It'll belong to Connecticut. Those 3 trips down the floor run after Pitt went to the box and won. Kelly found Broxton all alone for a short shot. He rushed it and missed it. The second time, oh, what a collision.
Whoa. Matt Miklasevich and Jerry Besseling, too.
That's John Shea, number
John
30.
Shea. It was a wild collision. I thought it was Jerry Besseling for a second. But that was quite a crash. John Shea just into the game. He certainly knows he's out on the court now, as you see.
We've seen some real body blows.
Well, that's really a collision. John Shea, let's see if he can regroup himself and get to the free throw line and shoot.
David taps it ahead, but Frederick comes down with it. 3 seconds. And that's it. So a tight game is turned around the 6-minute mark by a defensive adjustment by head coach Roy Chippen. The Panthers beat Connecticut 78-71. Along with my partner, Ron Perry, this is Stan Savran saying so long from Fitzgerald Fieldhouse on the campus of the University of Pittsburgh. The final score once again, Pitt 78, Connecticut 71. This has been an exclusive PCS presentation.